Okay, hi. It's Friday afternoon, 2:21. So a little video here about week 6. And my notes here say there are 4 things and there's a 5th one that I want to make sure we get to here. First off, I really enjoyed talking with you all this week. Always nice to talk to students and to sort of hear where they are in the course and to just interact with you live. But actually, the conversations led me to believe that I need to do 2 things. One, I want to make sure, I want to push all the presentations back to week 8. I know at the beginning of the course we signed up for week 7 and week 8 presentations. There are only 6 of us in the class. There's really no need for that, and I sense that people could use the extra week, those of you who are in week 7. So you'll see in Canvas that I've moved things back to, that I've eliminated the week 7 presentation item. Okay, all of the stuff will be due in week 8. Okay, and the other thing that I got a sense from talking with you is that it would be good if I did a video that kind of talked and chalked and sort of did an overview of the whole course. It's clear that you understand the different pieces, but that trying to integrate all of them into a whole and understanding particularly the hierarchy of evaluations and how that kind of relates back then to chapters 2 and 3, dealing with the design of your evaluation and the importance of thinking hard about the purpose of the evaluation, and then what type of evaluation design you should have. I think it's still fuzzy, and as I guess Andy said it, he said he wished that this had been an online course and we could have had some really great discussions about this sort of stuff, and I agreed. And after talking with all of you, I think there's a need for this sort of comprehensive overview sort of video. So look for that sometime over the weekend. I hope to do it probably Sunday and get it up on the board. Okay, on the board on Canvas. All right. So that does the first 3 things I wanted to talk about. This coming week, and maybe another thing then, about week 6, I thought our discussions were really good about cost-benefit of analysis, the potential benefits of them, and the cons of them. Clearly, as nonprofit leaders and stewards of other people's money, the donors' money, and your people who contractually fund your organization, you do need to produce product. You need to really be able to tell those funders, yes, you are making good use of their money. This is what the intention was. This is what we did with it. And yes, this is what the outcomes were. Okay? And not only is it important for you to be able to say that to your funders, but as Shannon pointed out, it's really important that you can say that to your employees. They need to be able to see concretely that indeed what they do is collectively maximizing mission. It is addressing that social or public need that your organization was created to, in fact, address. So I may be preaching to the choir, right? Because you are the ones who have taken this evaluation course. You are the ones who understand the importance of evaluation. But so I'll preach to the choir. We get it, that it's really important to be able to quantify what you do and not just tell anecdotal stories. The stories are fun, and you'll learn in 650 the importance of stories as it relates to the symbolic frame of organizations and letting everyone in the organization know that they're part of something greater than themselves, and that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, so that spiritually you feel connected and satisfied with the job you're doing and the organization that you're a part of. Okay, but stories only take you so far, and it's really important to have that concrete measurement of what you're actually doing and actually the improvement you are making because your organization exists and does a good job. All right, so that's all the reasons why quantifying your outcomes is really important. On the downside, I think it's just important to appreciate the limitations of some of the quantitative formulas that people like the Robin Hood Foundation are using, that they are attempts to quantify, but you have to make sure that the quantification of the goodness that you're doing really makes sense, and that that quantification is reliable, valid, and sensitive. Right? Those are words that we heard from in earlier chapters. But the point being, make sure that the cost-benefit ratios that you're doing are actually realistic and believable, reliable, viable, and sensitive. Okay? All right, I think that's enough for week 6. That was a little digression. Week 7, we're actually going back to the chapter we skipped in Rossi, chapter 10, and that's about detecting, interpreting, and analyzing program effects. This is going to be a challenging chapter for people who have not taken statistics before, and maybe if you took them a little while back, it may be a challenging chapter because you may have forgotten some stuff. So ask lots of questions in the discussion forums. I'll answer them as best I can, and hopefully you'll see another little video at the beginning of the week, Monday or Tuesday, that talks a little bit more about what's in chapter 10, because I appreciate that some of you, many of you, most of you, all of you, I don't know, will get lost in the material, okay? Because it is challenging. And then I guess the last thing I really wanted to do goes back to something that it goes back to impact analysis and the distinction between implementation evaluations and impact evaluations. And this sort of comes out of the discussion that I had with some of you about, what type of evaluation are you doing, and what are you trying to accomplish with your evaluation. And there seemed to be some confusion about implementation evaluation versus outcome evaluation. And I just want to read, this is on page 205, the first paragraph, and it's at the very beginning of chapter 7 under program outcomes. Okay, an outcome is the state of the target population or the social conditions that a program is expected to have changed. And so they go on then and say, it's important to evaluate these, but they talk more about what outcomes are, and they give the example of attitudes toward smoking, and then in the second paragraph they say this. Notice two things about these examples. First, outcomes are observed characteristics of the target population or social condition, not of the program, and the definition of an outcome makes no direct reference to program actions. Although the services delivered to program participants are often described as program outputs, outcomes, as defined here, must relate to the benefits those products or services might have for the participant, not simply their receipt. Okay? So remember that the implementation study is to evaluate the extent to which the program is being implemented as intended. Okay? Are there the right number of staff doing the right sort of things to the right number of clients? That's very simplistic. But right about those, is the program being implemented as intended? But the outcome of all this effort, the impact of all that effort, is what changes in the person or the social problem that this intervention is being applied to, right? You have the control group and you have the treatment group, and it is the change in the treatment group that you're trying to capture in your evaluation study. Not what happened to them, not what things were given to them, not what the treatment is, but what the consequence of the treatment is in terms of change in those getting the treatment. Okay? I'll harp more on this when we get to that longer video this weekend, the Chalk and Talk, that talks about the overview of the class. But the point here then is that think about what it is that you want your evaluation to do. If it is to simply see if the program is being implemented as intended, then you want to ask questions that say, okay, the logic model said this in terms of what the treatment was going to be. What the implementation evaluation does is say, is that treatment being delivered or applied as it was intended? Period. So your questions have to be, compared to my the program design, is that actually happening in real life? Done. And then if it's an impact study, you want to ask, okay, now those people or things or whatever it is that are receiving the treatment, what change is occurring? Okay? So one has to do with, is the program being implemented as designed? The second part, evaluation, is, are the subjects or recipients of that program having a change? Are they changing in any way? What's the consequence of them receiving the treatment? Okay? Therefore, you have to ask questions that have to do with not whether they received the treatment or what they thought about the treatment or anything like that, but what has changed in terms of their behavior or their state as a consequence of having gotten the treatment. Okay? Okay. 14 minutes right there. Okay, so thank you. I see that I'm a little transparent here in the light. Hope that worked okay. All right, take care.